What a play after play after play.
And he's got a lot of room to run, and she is taking over.
Rhodes, that's the greatest conference in the country is showing out tonight, gentlemen. I cannot believe it. That is the greatest high school football game.
Thank you very much for being with us on a Tuesday night. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
I'm very excited. There's a guy who played O-line, left tackle for over 20 years. Guys that play quarterback have to get excited about that. And I know it's shocking, but once again, fellas, our guest is smarter than all three of us combined.
Well, that's just not the kind of compliment people think it actually is. He's Tim Strachan.
What a great day to talk sports, especially WCAC sports, and to have a guy like Roman Oben, all-name team, on the show tonight, a Gonzaga guy. Good to get a Gonzaga guy back. It's been a while. Looking forward. Thank you, Joe Rada, for all your help.
Absolutely. Good on the folks down on I Street. This is the WCAC Spectacular, and this is how we start every week. A little segment we call Around the League, brought to you by Lido Pizza. Let's start up in Lakewood, New Jersey. Elizabeth Seton alum Tian Addison has 12 points and 8 steals over Nyack College with the Georgia Christian Lions. Georgian Court University Lions. Go Roadrunners. Heading on out to Hyattsville. Slugfest between the Stags of DeMatha and PVI. Jordan Hawkins for the win. 109-107 DeMatha with the victory.
Overtime victory. Unbelievable.
Don't hit your head.
I know. Coast to coast.
Heading on out to Indianapolis, where Butler taps a former Gonzaga football captain, Sam Brown. He's been voted captain at Butler. Good job, Sam. Way to be a leader. That's how we do it in the WCAC.
Dude can play.
Heading on out to College Park. Speaking of a young man who can play, Roman Pugliese, former PVI captain on the lacrosse field, now a captain at UMD for the Terps. Preseason All-American. That's how we do in Maryland when we play lacrosse.
How do you get two Romans on one show?
Well, that's
unbelievable.
We don't miss anything. How about going out to Forestville? My old gym. Where the Mustangs taking on St. John's College. The alley-oop. Favor Iyer with a big-time win over the Cadets. Irie. Irie.
That works.
Yeah, it does. It does. Amazing job by the Mustangs. There's our spot up there in the corner. And how about this? Going back to Hyattsville. You know you've made it, James Brown, because you've been put up by Kenan Thompson on Saturday Night Live. That's awesome. Lots of fun in the WCAC making its way to prime time up in New York. Around the League is brought to you by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza is square because they don't cut corners.
The Lido Pizza is good.
Yes, it is.
Plain and simple. Hey, real quick about that DeMatha Paul VI game, 109-107 OT victory. Jordan Hawkins had 29 points. It's hard to score 29 points in a high school basketball game. But Trevor Keels had 41.
Yep.
41 points in a high school basketball game is unheard of. And I think it's only been done, according to Mike Jones, twice in the history that he knows of that an opponent has put up that many points against the DeMatha team. Unbelievable.
Not surprising at all that Trevor Keels, I know all of Duke Nation on a bad year, is waiting for that commitment to happen.
A lot of people are.
Is that Paul VI to Durham train going to keep on rolling from Leesburg? Well, I certainly hope so.
Well, do we have any? Is that in the bag? Are you announcing something? Do you know?
No. Duke's one of the final three. It's
okay.
Duke, UVA, and I don't think it matters after that. Someone that's not in the ACC.
That's I know. We want our hometown teams to have chances at these guys. It's just awesome to see PVI and DeMatha playing competitive basketball because a couple months ago we didn't even think that was going to happen. So
hey, and hats off to DeMatha for going undefeated, 10-0, but also the Paul VI girls undefeated, 10-0. Strange season, but when you go without losing,
I'll take it.
You take it any.
And they're squeezing in some senior nights here and there, and they're making sure parents get a chance to see kids play. They're making sure kids get a chance to get on film, so they can get that free education that they earn on an annual basis. That things are working out just about almost as good as you could ask, coming out of a really, really tough and hard year. We have someone joining us tonight who knows what it takes to go from our league to the next league to the one beyond that. Let's talk a little bit about this young man. Came all the way from Cameroon, put in some time at Gonzaga College High School before he made his way to the University of Louisville. An absolute stud in the classroom and on the gridiron, amazing athlete, first Cameroonian-born NFL player to ever be drafted. Started 90% of his games in a 12-year career at left tackle for the New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and San Diego Chargers. Please join me in welcoming to the show Mr. Roman Oben. Welcome, sir.
How you guys doing, man? Great to be on here. Thanks for reliving those. I think that yearbook may be in my mom's house somewhere. And she lives in University Park, literally like across street from Northwestern. So she's. I always go back home, dig through those old yearbooks, and try to. I think you appreciate it more like 30 years later, man, for some reason. So thanks for having me on.
Don't they make yearbooks in color anymore? We got to get a message down to Joe Rada. I mean, Roman, we are not that old. We played in. It might have been standard definition and not high def, but there was still color pictures. Yeah. I mean, for goodness' sake.
Everything's digital now. Was there even are there still yearbook clubs? Do those things still exist? Every school's got a digital team, a social team, a Twitter team.
That's what Tim Strachan, that's what his whole game is these days. Yeah, absolutely.
T-book. You're right, man. You nailed it.
Well, Roman, we appreciate you joining and representing the good, all of our brothers that is down on I Street. Amazing hat tip once again over to Joe Rada and everyone down there getting through a very, very tough year. Let's start on I Street. Let's talk about getting your footing for what was a pretty amazing team, a pretty good team, obviously, that you played on. But you wouldn't know it by some of that picture. But for goodness sake, that was that
was our JV team. So I didn't play organized football until 10th grade. So I'm like. And I have an October birthday, so back when you weren't reclassing kids and all that other stuff, I mean, we had guys that were seniors and they were 16 and didn't turn 17 until like November, December. And so it's crazy to look back, and I tell my boys the same thing. I have a son at Duke who plays football as a DN, and I have a younger son who's a offensive lineman at St. Peter's Prep here in Jersey City, who would have played Gonzaga this year had we not, had the pandemic and all those things. But it's crazy to see how, like, I didn't play football in 10th grade, and a year later you start lifting weights, and here come letters. And I mean, there was no rivals, there were no offers, there were no stars back then. You just had to, most recruits were just regional recruits. You went to a Big East or an ACC school if you dared enough to go outside of that 5-hour driving window. It was the best of luck getting playing time. But it's crazy to see where it's gone now. But again, we can talk about anything you guys want for sure.
All right, well, Roman, the first thing I want to talk about after checking that picture out that we just saw that I hadn't seen just yet, on the way over here, I was telling these guys, listen, man, everyone's football journey is different. And Roman Oben was lucky enough to play for be teammates with or be coached by 8 different men who led a franchise to the Super Bowl as a head coach. That is a lot of men that you have been around and your experience of your 12 years in the league. And I just noticed your first football coach was Marty Favrette. He didn't go and mess it all up. Good for Coach Favrette.
I got benched in JV because I kept jumping off sides. And, second and, first and 5 for the defense. I was DN, I was just watch the ball. And I said, I kept jumping off sides. So I got benched like the last 2 games of the season. So I think I figured out after that, though. Jumping off sides isn't a good thing.
How was it that you didn't play football until 10th grade? First of all, who didn't notice you in 9th grade that you should have been playing in the 9th grade?
Well, I tell the story a lot. We were on vacation. I went to Atlanta to spend time with my aunt. for the summer. I literally got back the day before Labor Day, and my mom had no idea that there were football tryouts, and I was gone for 5-6 weeks, and so I thought you could just come show up on first day of school. I'd never played before, so I had to wait the whole next year. But I actually, my freshman year, I started throwing shot put, did indoor track, did outdoor track. I never made all Met in football at Gonzaga. I made it in track and field, and so. Wow. Yeah, we were always at 8-3. We'd lose to the big three: DeMatha, Carroll, and McNamara. I think we'd split with St. John's. DeMatha, Carroll, McNamara. We'd lose to them, and that was the Marvin Graves, Lawrence Moten era. And I say this all the time that if Marvin Graves was like the best athlete I'd ever seen in high school back then, and if he was 30 years too early, because he'd be an RPO quarterback right now, and he'd play in the league for 10 years, and it didn't happen like that. I think he had to go play in Canada. I think he's coached.
He's been on the show. Yeah,
he was on. And everyone says the same thing, Roman, over and over and over again about Marvin Graves. As awesome as, the Lawrence Moten and the Adrian Dantleys and the Danny Ferries and all these guys have gone on to bigger and better things. Man. Everyone to a man has to drop that one comment that they'll all say, man, Marvin Graves, if he had been around 25 years later, he'd be blowing it up in the league.
Well, that was the same discussion. I mean, at least Charlie Ward played in the NBA for 10 years, but we'd always say like those two guys in college should have been great quarterbacks. The NFL was ready for mobile quarterbacks back then. And so it's interesting to see that whole dichotomy, change and evolve. But no, I've always been a fan of the conference of where DC sports has gone. It's a cult like following. Everyone knows what everybody's doing and what they've done. People still argue about high school like 30 years later. And so, I live in northern Jersey with, kind of all up here. And we're in that Bosco Bergen, league with where my kids go to school. But I always say the DMV area, before it was called DMV, I always say the DC, Maryland, Virginia area has the better athletes, kids that still do multiple sports, that run track. I mean, that you build the athlete and they actually go get better in college. So I definitely believe that.
One more just early childhood topic to discuss. In reading up on you give a lot of credit to your mom. Just talk about how you guys moved from Cameroon, the influence and the impact your mom had on your life to help you not just get to Gonzaga, play football, and move on, but she gave you a different perspective. It wasn't about sports. It was about much bigger, better things.
Yeah, I remember. So my mom, came to the States, single mom working for the equivalent of the State Department. And so started working at the Cameroon Embassy. And so back then we lived on like 16th and R Street, on 16th Street Northwest, where that building with the two big lines or whatever in front. Yeah. So we lived like on that block somewhere. And that was before, I think, rent drove everything. And we had to move 4 blocks on the other side of 14th Street. Probably like second or third grade. And so I grew up downtown. I grew up in the Logan Circle area. My mom worked 40 hours a week and 18 credits a semester, went to UDC. So I saw that work ethic from a single mom standpoint. So, when you don't have a dad in the house and you don't have anyone to help you learn how to fix a flat and do all that stuff in your bike, you have to do all that on your own. And I think we all grew up like that, right? We all had latchkey kids and watching Captain 20 when you were a kid and all that stuff. Saturdays. Nostalgia here with Captain 20. But I think leadership and work ethic is manifested in different ways. And sometimes you every family situation isn't ideal, but I learned a lot from the situation that I had, especially when I saw life on one side of 12th Street going towards the Shaw community and going up towards Dunbar in that area. Then I saw the other side of it, 16th Street, going all the way up to Georgetown. So I grew up seeing both sides, Howard University dorm in my backyard, and we were able to really expose to everything. And I love the childhood that I had and the exposure that I had. But my mom was definitely a big motivator for me, just seeing someone work really hard. And she always said, you can work hard in anything you do. And so I definitely, thanks for bringing that up though. But, and just for the record, I know it's been documented, but I was my first job was one of my first jobs in RFK Stadium selling pretzels at the stadium, and I was number 72 in high school because of Dexter Manley. Everyone knows that story, and kept that number all the way through the league. And so when we played the Skins, if I could say the Skins back then, on the show. I remember pulling up to RFK Stadium the last year, my rookie year, last year of RFK Stadium, and seeing the people that I worked with in the concession stand. They didn't recognize. I just kind of walked past, got in the locker room, but it was definitely nostalgic. I mean, this is like 5 years later. I'm coming back, kind of a Mr. Smith comes to Washington sort of thing. But no, it was good. It was great. I definitely appreciate. I never lived in DC as an adult, but always coming back as a visitor, seeing the changes, see how downtown evolved, seeing how the buildings. I mean, it looks crazy.
It's crazy. Well, and by the way, were you working with Boog over there at RFK selling in the vending staff?
Yep.
Boog Miller. I sold soft pretzels at RFK from.
So did I. That's what I did. I sold soft pretzels.
That was the one of my first jobs. Also, I worked there for like three or four seasons. Also, like leading right up to the end. You were crushing it at Louisville when I was doing. The key, Roman. You talk about working hard and working at RFK because there's a lot of vendors out there. They're just there to watch the game, but you can make that extra bonus. If you go up to the top level, no one wanted to go to the top level. Yeah. Everyone wanted to stick down low and see every play, and they didn't care how much they sold. Up in the top level, you sell some pretzels, you get that. They paid out the top three people. That was what it was all about, Kevin.
Yeah. I'll let Roman comment.
Yeah,
first.
Let Roman comment on that.
I would cash out early, depending on the game, and just try to wait till see people were leaving, and just try to hide and just sit in the seat. And I'd always get cursed out by the manager or whoever. And then, or I would stand next to the beer person. So I figured they get the munchies. You get a beer, you need a pretzel. Oh, yeah. And the guy was like, get away from my spot, man. Go find your own spot.
I mean, so I sat in the stands with DeMatha's own Brian McCarthy, our friend, in 8th grade. Roman, his father was a two-sport high school All-American at DeMatha. Blocked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's shot in the legendary Power Memorial game, starting running back for the Denver Broncos. And I was so excited to be at the game with him that day. And Brian and I were in 8th grade. We knew exactly who you were. We were in 8th grade at St. John's. And then we saw you selling pretzels that day. And I thought, I've always had that thought in my head. I had it written down when you were talking so I could go next and talk about it before you brought it up, because that's always hit me. A young man who came to this country, went to a school that's a part of our family, and then went off into the world and did all these great things. And I saw him selling pretzels at the greatest stadium in the history of my lifetime. So that's so cool to do that. My quick question after going on for too long, when you're out in San Diego, your teammate on the other side of the ball, and let everyone know this, anyone that knows this in football knows that if Marty Schottenheimer wants you as your left tackle, that's something different.
Yep.
And he did, and he got that. And the man across, the other monument from D.C. across the line of the scrimmage, Jamal Williams from Carroll. Just want to know, did any of that ever come up out west?
We would talk about that. That's all me and Jamal talked about. Oh, you guys suck. Gonzaga sucks. I was like, Carroll, you guys suck. I was like, the thing they would put all the paper things on a fence every year. They have like a little sign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we'd go back and forth all the time. It was actually hilarious. And but it was cool, like middle of San Diego, me and Jamal, because was he in 94 class, 94, 95?
Yeah, he was 93.
I think he was 93.
93. We played we played against him
when I was a senior or something like that. But I remember his name for sure. And I think he went to Oklahoma State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because it was that discussion about DeMatha versus Carroll. Then it's like, how the heck do you get to Oklahoma State from D.C.? you pass Pitt, Maryland, and all the regional schools.
Well, Roman, you've not only stayed in the NFL as a player for a long time, but you continue to be a part of the NFL operations. Yeah. I mean, you can tell us a little bit about what you're up to now that the season's over, or the regular season's over. I know your job has no off season. What are you up to, and what are some of the efforts? Because you've been a huge part of representing players, obviously when you were on the field, but you were instrumental in making sure players get educated while they're playing, and then after they leave the league, player benefits in retirement. And so, are you still focusing on some of those specific areas, or kind of where are your priorities with the league right now?
No, we have a department that does that. Player engagement. They reach out to current players and legends, guys that played in the league. I always have a soft spot for guys that played because I think you have to take those transferable skills and use them later in life. There was this quote that came out in 2002 that 80% of players go broke after football's over, and that was never actually proven, but people have been running with that for 20 years. And so it's always important that use the tools, resources to help, life after football. Because I think the life of part lasts a lot longer than the football part for any athlete. And especially in football, because players go to school longest. You don't have a lot of one and dones in football. I haven't seen any anytime soon, but I think football players learn how to manage themselves socially. And then the majority of football players, I'm not all, but majority of them do well. I know like Tyler Jackson and different guys end up coaching, selling insurance, whatever that is, teaching, and obviously, my role at the National Football League. I'm a VP of, football developments. That's youth, high school strategy, college outreach. We do everything from like the play football initiatives. We study participation data, why kids are playing, why they're not playing. I started out as director of player health and safety. So just the qualitative part of the game and protecting and preserving the future of the game and how we communicate with the younger athletes, parents. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot. We're right in the middle of competition committee meetings this week. So that's, going over the rules, looking at the data from this season. A lot of people are saying there's a lot more offense, but then the scores don't really, change. So there's different things qualitatively that we're studying now. But I'm definitely appreciative that I've been able to really serve a game that gave me more than I could ever give back. You talk about my story, coming from Africa. Yeah, that little kid on my shoulder is a 6'4", 250-pound defensive end right now. So he appreciates. I still have that onesie in my drawer. I'm going to save that until I'm like an old man.
Should.
So yeah. So he was a year and a half in that picture, and it's awesome that the Bucs just won again. And Bruce Arians you talk about all the coaches I had. Bruce Arians was my OC when I was in Cleveland. Yeah. And Todd Bowles was the DB's coach, Temple Todd there. And it was just great to be around a lot of different types of coaches, different leaders. And obviously Coach Gruden was one of them. And I just have to say, with that game was played in San Diego Stadium. That ended up being traded as a part of Eli trade 2 years later, a year and a half later. And I just wanted to say just right now, I'm just rest in peace to Vince Jackson and his family, and we were teammates for 3 years, and it's funny. I remember the 2006 game where we lost to the Patriots, and Marty got fired. He went 14-2. I remember the San Diego Chicken, if you guys remember that. When that first name, I jumped out of my seat. I'm like, the San Diego Chicken. Like Vince Jackson's like, what the heck's the San Diego Chicken? Be old man, be excited about a chicken with a rainbow costume running around the stadium. I was like, you don't get it, man. You don't. So I said, you got to be at least 40 years old to appreciate the San Diego Chicken. If any older sports fans are understanding that.
Hey, Roman, I wanted to follow up on the fact that you being vice president of youth and high school football, what I consider to be an attack on football right now, I feel like it's hurting youth football. And in some respects, that feeds into hurting maybe high school football. Where is the status of the game of football right now at the younger levels? What can we do to make it better? And how can we counter-argue some of the what I think are myths about the safety of football right now?
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's and I'm glad you brought that up, T. It's evolved from just a concussion discussion, because while football has had to absorb that health and safety discussion, the game of football is also led in protective equipment and advances in technology. I think sometimes all those challenges make you make better decisions, and other sports have benefited from that. So soccer, basketball, lacrosse, you talk about no body checking under U12, soccer getting rid of heading, all that was because of the things that we're doing in football. So when you talk about the health and safety things. I always say, parents are going to choose what they want to choose, but just make sure they're informed. I just, I think football is a great sport, and it gave me more than I could ever give back. But I think obviously the narrative is changed about the game. But I say anything that you want to put your son or daughter in, you've got to just be educated. You've seen some drops in tackle at the youth level, but you're seeing a big rise in flag. You're seeing a big rise in girls flag football. So we look at flag as just football engagement, not as a different sport to tackle. But high school has been steady, honestly. When you talk about the hotbeds, Florida, Texas, California, like your major cities, kids are still playing football. They still want scholarships. They still want to play in college and play on the next level. You just aren't seeing across the board, 60 people on the sideline. You're seeing 40, so. And then a lot of these multiple same sport all year long. I mean, that's affected it too. And I think your AAU, your travel guys have gotten a little selfish on that tweener safety linebacker. Why don't you come to lacrosse? But then I'd say, look, go play lacrosse, run track, but make sure you come back to football. So, but then here comes the discussion. If you play in the fall, you'll be better. The 10,000-hour rule. Like everyone bought into that. And I don't think at the end of the day, with the burnout and some of those things, kids are just better playing the sports that they like, and they have a better chance to succeed. And football always takes that tweener kid that doesn't want AAU travel. Like, more kids are playing football for the first time in high school still than any other sport. And football is a sport that actually grows in participation in high school years versus the burnout of some of those other sports before you even get to, middle school.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great answer.
So happy to hear that.
I can't wait to tell someone else what you just
Yes.
said. In fact,
We will
I'm
clip
gonna
that
keep
up,
I'm going to keep
and
it on
we'll
the
put it
clip.
out there.
Right, yes.
Not
right on the
to-
cell
I
phone.
mean, football, NFL, footballoperations.com has a lot of stuff. Playfootball.com has a lot of about our initiatives. I think those are good places there. And some of the things that you've seen, content-wise, NFL as it relates to youth, high school, our Nike partnership. I mean, you're talking $5 million around the country to girls that want to start flag. I think I'm involved in all that, but a lot of people are working on it, and we want to preserve and protect the game so that our kids and their kids can continue to play and get the benefits from football as well.
All right. Well, Roman, first of all, I wanted to touch about, you did mention Tyoka Jackson, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. I always like to.
Good guy.
Yeah, he absolutely. He was awesome, and it's been a good stretch all the way up until this very second of awesome WCAC guests. Before we let you go, we're going to throw some names by you from your WCAC professional and college past. We got 5 or 6 names. We're going to hit you with a name, and you hit us back with 1 or 2 words.
First thoughts.
First thoughts. And we'll see if we can't get you a little bit here, Kevin.
I'm going to tell you, Roman Oben's list is a tad bit different than everyone else's.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking Hall of Famers from start to finish. Let's start off with this guy, LT Ladainian Tomlinson.
Great guy, deserves everything he got. Never took anything for granted.
Drew Brees.
I'd say he's a 1B to my 1A with Ladainian Tomlinson. Got me my first Rolex as an O-line gift, so you always appreciate those quarterbacks. But love Drew, happy for him, and he deserves the best too.
John Lynch.
Lynch, the captain. Locker room was next to mine in Tampa, and this guy would read the whole newspaper every day, every morning. Just comb right through the paper every day. I always remember that about Lynch. That's why he's a smart guy, went to Stanford, and that's why he's doing so well now as a GM.
Derek Brooks.
DB. He does our fine appeals for the league, and we become teammates in life and on and off the field. Again, a leader through and through, and one of the reasons why that defense was so solid for so many years.
Michael Strahan.
Stray. Stray's a hilarious dude, man. He was on the other side, so we didn't practice each other every day, but you knew that he was special. To get those many sacks on that side of the ball at the right end when the quarterback sees you coming, I think people don't talk about that enough. People talk about the blind side end, but he was a strong side end and got 150 sacks, and God bless him. And now he's Mr. Hollywood. He's got a Hollywood star, probably. Love Strahan, man.
How did he
Great
get
guy.
so big? It's unbelievable to me. He's huge. Go ahead.
Well, we saw it. The 3 left. I got some coaches here for you. One of them was when you were at left tackle, he was in the huddle. Let's go with Doug Peterson.
DP, man. It's crazy what happened to him in Philly, man. But I just hope he takes a year off, does TV, whatever, bounces back. He's a great coach, man. Great football mind. And I think sometimes coaches get caught up in the administrative stuff, but PD's a great guy, man. Great football mind.
Bruce Arians.
BA, yeah, I talked about him earlier. He not only just on and off the field, and he's got that Dusty Rhodes kind of cool white guy energy, he's had more former players or NFL players on his staff than any staff. So you're talking about in Arizona, Joey Porter, Bruckner, all those guys. He promotes players in coaching, and that's what I appreciate about him.
All right, final one. The man who brought the ring to Tampa before Bruce, John Gruden.
Coach, he's an interesting individual. He is who he is on television. I'll just leave it at that. Like that's who he is. He's the same guy all the time. Lives in his office, loves ball. He could reference any football stat, any history. I mean, he's a fan of the game. I love Coach Gruden too.
Awesome.
Roman, we can't thank you enough for your time, and we will absolutely be advocates on your behalf on that amazing information you gave to us, because it's an ongoing conversation.
Anything we can do to help you out, especially in this area, getting numbers up or helping out, we want to do whatever we can to keep youth and young people get interested in this game, and because it's not about just playing a game or winning scholarships. It's doing what you did. It's using the game to make your life better later on. Hats off to you for taking advantage of the game in that respect. But it's a game that teaches kids about life, and we want it to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't remember your chemistry teacher and when you're 40, but you remember your football coaches. Mm-hmm. Trust me. You definitely do. You do.
Well, hopefully my chemistry teacher isn't watching. Mrs. Khalil would not be very happy to hear that I've forgotten
nice
about her.
job.
Hey,
Let's
I remember my
apple
chemistry
down.
teacher. Of course
Mr.
I do.
Leonard. Yep.
All the time. Hey, thank you so much for being with us. Repping I Street and Purple Eagle Nation. Just the pride of Gonzaga. Mr. Oben, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure, guys. Really appreciate you having me on. Absolutely. Yeah,
and repping the league, too, as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Keep on
Without
doing it because, we always talk about it. But, yes, one of our brothers out there doing great things. We're very proud to have you on tonight.
All right. Have a great night, Roman. And we are – I tell you what, it's been a great run of guests for us, and it just continues. We do have a guest to announce for next week. Kevin, would you do the honors?
Yes, another man from this league that has done tremendous things for all the people that are part of this league, and a friend of my family, a friend of mine, Coach Carroll Holmes,
legend,
from DeMatha Catholic when he was on the when he was balling, and then when he decided to put that smooth coat and tie on and stand on the sidelines and pretty much intimidate the crap out of you if you didn't know him. And you know what? Prepare yourself for next Tuesday because he's coming.
He's synonymous with this league. You got to be kidding me. It's great.
He's going to have us with bricks in our hands doing defensive slide drills before the podcast is over.
Well, and he continues to be a huge supporter of a number of schools in the league, but just the league in general, and he's been super awesome to us since we've been on the sidelines of so many games. So we're looking forward to that next week. We are in the community segment tonight. Megan has the week off. Down in that cold, icy Florida weather. The whole South is, man, I'll tell you what, the South is getting crushed with snow and cold. Elizabeth Seton High School repping this week for the community, where their students shared not just their love, but also their creativity with the nursing home and senior living facility residents, making and delivering 1,000 homemade Valentines.
1,000?
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Happy Valentine's Day to the Roadrunners. Appreciate you guys doing amazing work down there outside in Bladensburg. Shout out to Candy.
Yeah,
Candy Cage. That's amazing. And everyone there. But anytime I get a chance to shout out to Candy Cage, who, by the way, needs to be a guest on this show at some point in the very near future.
Oh, we have it. It's written in stone.
She is on our list. You're on our list, Katie. You're not escaping. You are not escaping. I know you're watching, and I appreciate you. And your story, it needs to be told on our show. Yes,
Can I
sir.
just say,
Yes,
let's
Kevin.
stop telling people that they're on the list because that way we can
Oh
catch
yes,
them.
that's right. That's right. They'll
We gotta
be
catch 'em before
now
they
she's gonna
figure
be
out.
screening my calls. She won't answer. You better answer that phone, Candy. We will be back in 1 week on the show dedicated to the greatest high school conference in the land. Until then, he's Tim Strachan.
Man, thank you, Roman Oben, for being here and representing Gonzaga. I know you said when he was there it wasn't necessarily a national powerhouse, but he's been so happy to see how Gonzaga has raised their program. Coach T has done an unbelievable job down there, Joe Rada and everybody, to raise the profile of that. But Coach Turner, Coach O'Neill, all those guys down there, thanks for sharing Roman with us tonight. And Roman, thank you for sharing your story and what you've been able to do beyond football.
He's Kevin Ricca.
And I hate to tell you I told you so, but I told you guys he was going to be smarter than all three of us. I didn't tell you that he was just going to be a great guy and what a great representative. Man, I don't know how. At some point, we're going to have to run out of just amazing superstar guests and do something ourselves. Till then, because we're all bailing when that comes.
That's right.
Till then, let's keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, man.
Want to say thank you to our sponsor, Lido Pizza. Thanks for all the support you guys give us to be able to tell these awesome stories on a weekly basis. Go get yourself a white pizza with sausage and pepperoni. It's the best pizza you can buy at Lido's.
Extra cheese, extra sausage, extra cheese,
extra sausage. We want to say thank you also to our partners in the WCAC Spectacular, MMD. Thanks so much to Luke and Vic for making us look good and making this show legit. Until next Tuesday night, on behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo, and this was the WCAC Spectacular. See you next week. Ooh.